The Chicago Bulls got them a much-needed victory last night over the Denver Nuggets, 130 to 127. And while the game was going on, there was a lot of discussions about the Chicago Bulls starters because the Chicago Bulls bench has been holding this team up for so far this season. So one has to ask the question, should there be a shakeup in the starting lineup as we continue to see the Chicago Bulls bench thrive? Would it be something that we're going to wait and see when Kobe White comes out? Or is there another solution? I'm interested in this conversation. Hope you are too. But before we talk about it and break it all down, you already know you got to hear the music first.
Cognac, gang.
Bulls podcast with the Cognac Boys. I'm Cognac Boy Bobby, and I'm holding it down on today's daily episode. So if you're tuned in, ready to talk Bulls basketball and feeling a little better today about Bulls basketball, tune in, hit that like button and subscribe. And shout out to my man C-Dub. He going through it, but guess what? We're going to continue to hold it down for him and hope that he's ready to go so we can go ahead and get these exciting live calls back on the way. But pretty much just want to give a quick shout out to all you guys that and the ladies that stayed up last night and listened to that post game. Y'all was on that cooking, and I hope y'all enjoyed that session. Y'all know what I'm saying? I hope y'all enjoyed that session. But hey, the Chicago Bulls yesterday, man, it was a roller coaster ride of a game for the Chicago Bulls on a number of for a number of reasons, because it was like, man, they came out lackadaisical energy. Billy Donovan inserted a couple players from the bench. The Chicago Bulls tone changed completely to where they go up 18 points in the game. Then Billy Donovan goes back and leans on his starting lineup again. The 18-point lead is gone, which is kind of expected when you face a team like the Denver Nuggets and you still have a young basketball team like the Chicago Bulls who's still trying to find their way as a young basketball team. But y'all know we crazy in Chicago, so we expect them to be a lot better. So that's why we was on there kind of losing our mind watching that Bulls game. But then coming out of the second half, the Chicago Bulls bench come out and did some really, really good things for this team and helped these guys pull out a victory, carrying the load. Last night, the Chicago Bulls bench accounted for 66 points. 66 points. That was crazy to me. I thought I had to wipe my glasses off and wipe my eyes off. It was late. I had to see what was to it. Was it for real? Was I tripping or not? But no, it was absolutely real. And the crazy thing is that so far right now, with all the stuff that we've been going through, all the up and down for the Chicago Bulls, I even had people come on there and share stuff on my social media feed and say, well, chalk this game up versus the Denver Nuggets as an L, and we about to lose the next 7. I was like, dang, you want to know something? Just a bit off topic, just real quick before we get back on. I want people to constantly just say that, because at the start of the season, people was like, the Bulls are going 0-11 to start the season. And then, hey, guess what had happened? The Bulls started the season 6-1. We get on this losing streak. Somebody said the Bulls are going to lose their next 7. We get a win. So keep saying crazy stuff like the Bulls are going to lose crazy numbers in a row. I'm with it. Keep doing it because it's helping. Back to the Chicago Bulls bench. Now, what was surprising to me, but also started to make sense after I read the stat and figured it all out and did some reviewing myself, the Chicago Bulls are second in bench scoring in the entire NBA at 48.1 points per game, right behind the Memphis Grizzlies. And on the bench for the Chicago Bulls, some notable players that are really carrying their own. Ayo Dosunmu, a guy who we constantly talked about this offseason that could potentially be a 6th man of the year candidate, but we shall see. Still early in the season, but man, has Ayo been fantastic for us throughout his entire tenure. I ain't even gonna lie to you, but very, very good this season for the Chicago Bulls on everything that he can do and bring to this team. Then you got guys like Jalen Smith averaging 10 points off the bench. Trey Jones. He has played those starter minutes, but currently sitting at 13 points per game. I'm including him in his bench topic right here because that's where he's gonna lie. That's where he will be. And just once he gets healthy, Kobe White is a full go. That's where he will be. Then guys like Javon Carter giving us 8 points. P. Will giving us 8 points. And those guys, they came in yesterday, man. And to be quite frank with you, they come in with a sense of urgency that we constantly have to ask our starters to do. Hence why we are having this conversation on if the starters, there needs to be a shakeup, or do we need to wait it out a little bit? But for the Chicago Bulls bench, man, just in their last 5 games, we know that the record in the last 5 games is pretty like is 1-4. It ain't that good. But just for reference and just for understanding on how good this bench has been for the Chicago Bulls, last night 66 points off the bench for versus Denver, versus the Jazz. I know it's double overtime, so the stats is a little wonky. You know, we're gonna keep it real with that. But 71 bench points. Then versus Detroit, they put up 40 off the bench. Versus the San Antonio Spurs, 46 off the bench. Versus the Cleveland Cavaliers, 58 points off the bench. So what we're getting out of this bench is something that can contribute to winning, something that can bring, you know, something that can bring us some excitement, something that can allow us to be like, okay, we down 10 points. Billy Donovan, we found you a solution. Get these young whippersnappers up in there so they can wreak havoc, because when they inserted the game versus the Denver Nuggets in their lineup, Julian Phillips, Dalen Terry, Javon Carter, etc., man, it was exciting to see that type of energy come from the Chicago Bulls. It was from those guys right there, guys that you can lean on and depend on and really, really place in a good light, and not come out there and completely crap the game away, but instead extend a lead. That's all we want. And when we talk about benches, that's the type of mentality that I always have when it comes to guys that are going to come off the bench. You got to be ready, because sometimes those guys that are going to come out the bench, sometimes they won't even play many minutes in a certain game. But when you come out to play basketball, you are expected to be ready. It's not necessarily 100% fair, but that is what the expectation is. And I have the belief of, if you have a lead, they either have to maintain it or extend it, or if you're down, they have to try to close the gap. And that is what these guys did yesterday. But the question is what the hell is going on with the starters on too many nights, guys? On too many nights, we are seeing the Chicago Bulls starters come out slow, come out sluggish, not being prepared, not understanding the effort that it takes and that is required of you to have a good start to a basketball game. They're lacking energy. They're not giving us the effort that we need as a basketball team. And one thing that Billy Donovan said that I did not necessarily like 100%, but I will say it kind of makes sense. We don't have the talent to play desperate, to not play desperate, which is something a little annoying to me, because you're the coach. You're supposed to have your guys have that mentality and that understanding of being prepared for basketball games. Like, I get it. It's a two-sided thing. On one end, you look at the players and you say, hey, what are we doing? Y'all supposed to be ready to go. And then on the other end, you look at the coach and question him and saying, why don't your guys seem to be prepared when it comes to playing certain basketball teams? We have to be better. So where's the issue that I'm seeing with the starting lineup? To be quite honest with you, and I'm not trying to pick on people, I'm just going out there and letting you know what I see. It's coming up from the 4 spot with Isaac Okoro, in the 5 with Nikola Vucevic. If you want to say Montes has been playing the 4 and Nikola Vucevic has been playing the 5, it's those two players. However y'all want to mix them in and match them up. Isaac Okoro, for me personally, he's not been impressive to me. And that's not saying that he can't turn this season around, but up until this point, the only good game that I can recall in the last few outings is the Cleveland Cavaliers game. That's it. Maybe I'm wrong. Maybe I missed something, but that was the only time I was impressed by Isaac Okoro within the last few games. Nikola Vucevic, we talked about it online during the live call, on the post game, especially with some of you guys who are always tuning in and chiming in. Nikola Vucevic hit the game winner, and it feel like hitting the game winner zapped his effort away, zapped his powers away. It's not really effective offensively. Hasn't been giving us much defensively. And the same thing can be said about Isaac Okoro. Lauri Markkanen took him to the backyard, told him to grab his own switch, and whooped his ass. That's unacceptable. You know what I'm saying? And I get it. There's a height difference when it comes to that specific matchup. But then you also look to the head coach and say, why didn't you tell Montes Buzelis to guard Lauri Markkanen? Or why didn't you try to get P. Will more minutes and, trim down Isaac Okoro minutes? Why didn't you do something else? But then it also comes down to the player has to show effort and be better as well. It's not a one-sided thing when we talk about those conversations. So one thing that we bring up to this conversation is, what is the change? If there is a change right now, are the Chicago Bulls going to sit there and just say, hey, we're waiting on Kobe White to come back, Trey Jones will be back on the bench, and we'll be able to see how we can maneuver after that, which makes sense. I'm not mad at that. But then there's another option out there. Do you say, hey, once Kobe comes back, we make an adjustment to Kobe White, Josh Giddey, Montes Buzelis, Kevin Huerter, and Nikola Vucevic? I don't necessarily, if I like it 100%, I would like to see it, or will have to see it to become a believer. Maybe it's something that the Bulls will consider, because not only does Kevin Huerter has the size, you know what I'm saying, may have some challenges guarding bigger fours and bigger threes, but he will keep the floor space to where Josh Giddey could get downhill. Kobe White could still operate, and Nikola Vucevic may see some opportunities. So that's an option. Another option will be, which I'm not really against, but it is an option because we talked about it. And I want to feel some of you all who did not catch the conversation to fill you in on it. Will you bring Patrick Williams back up to the starting lineup? That's something I'm not entertaining. That's something I don't really want, but it calls for conversations to say, hey, will you be interested in bringing Patrick Williams up? He looks more engaged this season. We know he's been playing well defensively, but I get it. It's a conversation, but still, for me and my liking, I would rather keep Patrick Williams coming off the bench because I think he's more comfortable there. I think he has more activity there offensively and defensively. And those 8 points and a couple rebounds a game coming off the bench in certain spots is a bit more effective than giving him starter minutes and, moving in that direction. But if depending on how Billy Donovan wants it to look, you don't have to go out there and just play him a bunch of starter minutes. You can start him off in games, see how he performs, and then just kind of stagger his minutes along the way. What's best fit per se. But hey, just for conversation. But I will keep P. Will on the bench just for conversation, though. And lastly, another option that pretty much came up was, would you try Jalen Smith at the 4? So then you have Kobe, Giddey, Montes, Jalen Smith, Vooch, which I would like to see it, but I don't know if that's going to be sustainable. But I think that it'll be something interesting to see. I think Jalen Smith moves pretty well. I think that he's been showing some activity, and he's been a lot better offensively this season up until this point. So it's just some options just to try to see if these starters will kind of get in a better way of showing effort. I think that, and I said this, so I'm going to say it again. I think that when a team has its challenges at the start of a game, because we can't act like every team comes out guns blazing at the start of a game. There's just some games you don't have it. The problem is that we're seeing it too consistently with our team and our starters. So we're trying to look for solutions here. We can talk about the problems, but we're trying to look for solutions. But I always say, or I have this belief that if your team is struggling, what is something that can get them going? A player that can go and get you extra possessions, that can bring you energy plays, a block shot, a tip dunk, hell, just a dunk to energize the team and say, all right, let's set the tone a little bit. Let's pick this up. Whether that's a center, whether that's a 4, or somebody like that, those energized hustle plays, points in the paint, getting block shots, defending, giving extra possessions, I think those are crucial. I think those are crucial and big time for a team that has its struggles starting games off well. So it always comes back to, how do you get that from the Chicago Bulls? How do you get that from Billy Donovan? How do you get that out of these players? And what changes do you have to make to get that out of your team? So I think that's something that's very important, man. I think that when we look at the way that our lineup is, Isaac Okoro defensively hasn't been all that. Nikola Vucevic been lackadaisical on the defensive side. Montes Buzelis need to build that consistency. Hasn't been terrible, but has not lived up to what I believe he can be up until this point. But I understand that it is a process for a year two player, and I think that as the season goes on, Montes Buzelis will be better. And we don't have Kobe White inserted in the starting lineup, who can give you some of those energized plays that we talked about with him shooting the basketball, because Josh Giddey is a pass first guy. And Kobe White, I believe, is going to have that ultimate green light to just shoot that mug. And I think that you've seen a little glimpse of it when he came back in the last game, that he's going to be able to knock down shots. He's going to be able to hit those long three-pointers that make you say, damn, all right, bet. And then get the other guys going. So we'll see. I thought we're gonna have to have a little bit more patience, but there are some solutions and some things that you can probably mix and match on this basketball team just to see if you can get something else out of your starters, because right now the bench is holding this team up. And if we could get our starters to lead the way and you can still get those 48 points off the bench, man, that'll be huge for the Chicago Bulls team. That's why we're talking about it today. That's why we're trying to bring on solutions. I always say, don't just bring the problem up. Think of solutions, and solutions that make sense. So we'll see. Hopefully y'all agree with some of them. Let me know which one you like best, and throw out some solutions if you have any. I just came up with a couple. I can come up with a couple more, but I just don't want to, do too much with it. So we just gonna rock out like that. But hey, I appreciate y'all, man, because that is it for me today. Before you get up out of here, make sure you go ahead and hit that like button, subscribe to the channel, and hit that notification bell as well, man. Thank y'all so much for tuning in. Appreciate y'all for the continued support. Make sure you always see red, and y'all already know we're gonna catch y'all on the next one for sure. Peace.
Cognac. Gang.